Okay, our next presentation today, very cool looking, crazy looking animal. I love these guys. We're going to learn a lot more about them. The Fennec fox. Let's welcome Cami Cole.
Okay, so hi, I'm Cami, and today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the Fennec fox. I just have a picture up here so you guys can see what it looks like. That's just when they're babies. They do have the large ears when they're that, like from birth. First, I'll tell you guys about the classification. The kingdom line is Animalia, just like every other animal that someone will be presenting, and the phylum is Chordate, I think that's how you pronounce it. The class is Mammalia, and the order is Carnivore. Other animals that are in there are like lions and tigers and stuff, anything that eats meat. The family is Canidae, and the genus is Fennecus, and the species is Zerda. Their closest relatives are the Cape fox, which is big and has pretty good sized ears, and the Blandford's fox, which is really small and has very large ears. And I have the chart down here. And physical characteristics. The length for the head and body without the tail is 13 to 16 inches, which is slightly under 2 feet, and the tail is 6.6 inches to 12 inches, which is half a foot all the way to a foot. They weigh about 2 to 3 pounds usually. Their coat is very dense and long, and it's really reddish brown. It can vary in different foxes though. And their ears are like 20% of their whole surface area, so imagine each of your ears being as big as your head pretty much. And the tail is thick and bushy and just has a lot of fur on it. The paws have like fur on their pads so that they don't get their feet burnt on the hot sand in the desert. And they're also very large so they don't sink. And in the chart it says they have black eyes, red ears, a very narrow pointed snout, sharp claws on the feet, hair soles at the feet like I said, white belly, sand-colored fur, and a long bushy tail with a black tip. Distribution. They are found in northern Africa and all the way up here in the Middle East. They're found all the way from Morocco over to the Sahara Desert. All the way to the Middle East, like they go over here as far as the Sahara Desert, right there. And the habitat kind of looks like these pictures. So the deserts in northern Africa. It usually has light fine sand, and Sahara Desert and the Arabian Desert are the main two areas that it's found. But they do range over 2.2 million square miles. They're not very common anywhere, but since they do range over that amount of distance, they are not endangered at all. They spend their days in their dens just to escape the heat of the desert, which can get up to 129 degrees in the summer, even in the shade. The sun will be up for like 11 hours a day, and sometimes it can even go years without a single drop of rain. Their conservation status is that they are luckily of least concern. As I said before, they're not common anywhere but are widespread. And they're hunted and kept as pets, so that's making their population decrease. And they have become rare in some parts of their range, and that's why they're protected by CITES, the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna. And reproduction is they start reproducing in about 1 year, so they're pretty young, so usually about when they move out from their parents, and the female is usually pregnant for about 51 days, and they have 1 to 5 pups, and they usually mate in January and February. And parental care. There's some foxes and their pups. The pups do drink milk from their mother, and after 2 weeks their eyes open just like cats, and a week later, at 3 weeks, they start eating solid food. The father actually does help take care of them and does some of the hunting. They're fully weaned at 8 weeks, which just means that they're only eating solid food and they aren't getting anything They do stay with their parents for 9 months. Their mother teaches them how to hunt, and if there is like any predators nearby that she senses, she'll take them to safety. And longevity and morality, they live for about 10 years in captivities, slightly less in the wild, so about 8 years. There isn't any large difference in between males and females, and there's a picture of about probably an 8-year-old fox right there, kind of grumpy looking. And for seasonal patterns, there aren't really any changes. It does not migrate, it doesn't hibernate, and it doesn't undergo torpor. And so it just does live in the desert, so you don't really have to, it doesn't get that cold. And for the diet, it starts hunting at dusk, and it'll eat almost any small desert animal. It usually eats insects, rodents, lizards, eggs, birds, and fruits that it can find. It mainly eats small rodents. It uses its amazing hearing that it gets from its extremely large ears to pinpoint where a rodent may be underground. And sense of hearing is very vital for its hunting because you can't really see since it's dark at night, and it has, as I said before, it has a small pointed nose, so that doesn't really work well for the sense of smell. And it moves very fast through the desert, pretty much snatching up any desert animal that it can find. And there's a chart right there showing how much of what it eats. And the predator relationships is the predators are mainly also nocturnal. Hyenas, large birds, and humans all are predators for this animal. And us humans are the biggest threat to their existence. Animal predators, they aren't really increasing or going over in numbers, so they aren't a huge threat to them. In human relationships, so someone has their cute little Fennec fox pet on a dog bed or something. Some tribes do hunt them for fur. Sometimes people do keep them as pets. They're usually treated like a mix in between a cat and a dog. Humans are their main threat for just becoming extinct, and they are killed for meat by some desert people. And fun facts. The Fennec fox is the only one in its genus, and so the animals that I told you it was related to earlier, they aren't in its genus, but they are the closest related to it. It can dig so fast that it just looks like it's just sinking into the sand. And it can breathe up to 700 breaths per minute, which is really a lot. And so we're excited.
Any questions for Kim?
Oh yeah, what was his scientific name?
Their scientific name was Fennec zerta. Any other questions, Mr. Meyer?
What kind of mating system do these guys use? Is it, again, kind of like one male and female, or do they battle for mates?
They usually mate inside their families. They do them into groups like up to 10. And
So they interbreed?
yeah.
Okay.
The pups don't usually stay with their families, though.
And then the other one I was going to ask is, I might have missed it, how long do they live in captivity?
In captivity, they live up to 10 years.
10 years. And